Hey Nick, how you doing? I hope you, your family, and everyone at the lane are keeping well and safe during this difficult season. In answer to your question, what can you and your church do to support this global outcry for social and systemic reform in light of George Floyd's untimely death at the hands of the police officers in Minneapolis? Well, I don't claim to have all the answers, Nick, but if I had to choose one definitive answer to your question, outside of prayer, it would be education. I would encourage you and the members of your church to do some research surrounding Black history, because the first step in solving any problem is to identify the cause. And so for me, education is key, because the more aware you are surrounding problems that Black people face on a daily basis, I believe it will definitely help you to understand why Black people are so angry, not only at the racial profiling of police officers against young Black men, but the covert racism that Black people have been confronted with for centuries by institutions that continues to perpetuate systemic racism in our society. Case in point, after the murder of Stephen Lawrence in 1993, Sir William Macpherson conducted a report in 1999 known as the Macpherson Report. In his report, he accused the Metropolitan Police of institutional racism. He defined this systemic racism as the collective failure of an organization to provide an appropriate and professional service to people because of their color, culture, or ethnic origin. Now, it's important for us to understand, Nick, that the Macpherson Report was published because of the racism that existed then within the police force, and I believe still exists today. Lessons that should have been learned back then seem to have been swept under the carpet as the world is once again confronted with the murder of another Black man at the hands of white police officers. As far as Black people are concerned, racism still exists in the police force, and this belief is further compounded when we look at statistics within the criminal justice system. Black people make up 4% of the general population, yet make up 14% of the prison population. Black people are 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched by the police than our white counterparts, 3 times more likely to be arrested than white people, and 5 times more likely to have force used against us than white people. The disproportionality of Black people within the criminal justice system is staggering. In sports, throughout my 10 years playing professional football at the highest level, I experienced racism from the terraces and on numerous occasions by my own fellow professionals. Let's not forget that only a couple of months ago, before the coronavirus pandemic kicked in, our country was glued to the TV as Black players were being racially abused whilst playing football, not only for their clubs, but also for their country. I could go on, Nick. However, what we have learned through the Macpherson Report is that systemic racism is prevalent throughout our society. Unfortunately, since that report in 1999, things haven't got better. It's got worse. Because yet again, we find ourselves having to deal with the untimely death of George Floyd, which in my opinion was straight up murder, at the hands of white police officers. This modern day lynching of Black men dying at the hands of police officers in broad daylight is happening far too often. And quite frankly, Nick, Black people have had enough. In the 1960s, Martin Luther King made a statement. He said, "Riot is the language of the unheard." Please don't get me wrong. I do not condone violence. Trust me, violence is not the way forward. But I would be lying if I said that I did not understand why Black people have reacted this way. For years, Black people have been holding peaceful demonstrations. For years, Black people have marched the streets of London trying to bring awareness of the social injustices towards Black people. For years, Black community leaders have sat down with politicians, police commissioners, council officials and faith organisations to discuss these issues, but to no avail. No matter what path we've taken or whatever angle we've tried to broach this issue from, nothing is being done. which makes black people believe that we are not being heard. And in the words of Martin Luther King, he stated, "One day America will experience the chicken coming home to roost." And that's exactly what America are experiencing right now. Frustration, rage, and anger. Again, I do not condone violence, but black people are livid because, Nick, all the deaths at the hands of the police officers in America and the UK, there has been minimal or next to no convictions for these murders, again committed by white police officers. So again, Nick, in answer to your question, what can you and your church do to help support the Black Lives Matter movement that demands justice and to see social and systemic reform in our society? Education. Knowledge is power. And when you combine knowledge, prayer, and faith together, change will happen. What's really encouraging is that all the different races and cultures are coming together on this one. I believe the millennials and the Gen Xers will usher in this new normal that will encompass these societal reforms and make our country and the world a better place. Thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing you soon, mate. Until then, God bless you.